if we're doing.
Thanks. I'm listening.
Fabulous, Marty. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or a former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. If you have had substantial presentation experience, you may also apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered here in the club. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and your role if you have one. Simply right-click and select Rename in order to do so. Remember, we have members and guests from all over the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language and word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we are recording the meeting and your video and audio will be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. To kick us off this evening, join me in welcoming our club president, DTM, Lou Brown.
Thank you, Madam Sergeant at Arms, and welcome fellow online presenters and guests. I know some of our guests have been here before. Thank you for returning and joining us for another meeting. For our newer guests and perhaps those returning guests who are not familiar with this special meeting tonight, it is a speak-a-thon that we hold on the 3rd, I believe this is the 3rd, right? The second Monday of each month. We also have a much longer speak-a-thon that we hold on select weekends in certain months, but this is, I guess I'll call it our monthly, second Monday of the month speak-a-thon. So it's a pretty full agenda. We also have a couple of other experiences that will take place shortly after I conclude my remarks. Thank you again all for being here. And just another reminder, every now and then, please just wave your mouse near the bottom so that you make sure that microphone has that red line through it when you're not speaking. Sometimes we do get some background noise in our recording, and we certainly would like to have our session be as crisp and clear to all of those who will view it afterwards as possible. Thank you all again for being with us. And guests, by the way, please stay with us at the end of the meeting because we will be asking you for a little bit of feedback then. I would like now to turn things over to our Vice President of Membership who will conduct some new member inductions. Take it away, VPM Mary Ann Grady.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, one of our favorite things to do is welcome new guests. We were going to be welcoming 2, but I don't see Andre Tomlinson here. So tonight we will be welcoming Irvlyn Young, and I will get the party started here. So it is my duty and privilege to induct Irvlyn Young. This is an important occasion both for Irvlyn and for our club. As experienced speakers and Toastmasters, she will enrich us as we strive to enrich her. In the spirit of sharing and enjoyment, together we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Irvlyn, please wait until I call on you to affirm your commitment to the Toastmasters promise. In the presence of fellow online presenters, do you pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with our fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so they can gain the benefits of Toastmasters? Irvlyn, please unmute and say, I do.
I do.
Well, with that, Everyone unmute your microphones and let's give Irvin a warm welcome into Online Presenters. We're very happy you're here.
Welcome,
Irvin.
welcome. And Benito,
Welcome.
and Benuti and a few other things.
Okay, back to you, Lou.
Thank you, Marianne, and welcome again, Irvin. So happy that you are joining us at Online Presenters in your first experience as a new member. As Marianne mentioned, we also have another new member, which we will conduct the induction ceremony for him, possibly at our next meeting. Our Vice President of Education, is he back in the room with us? Mr. Andrew Byrne. Oh, there you are, sir. Do you have any educational moments to share with us before we move into the main portion of the program? And you're still muted?
I do have some things to share with you, and so I'll go and do that right now. We are in our meeting, and I wanted to, just for the new people, let them know that the overview of the meeting normally would be prepared speeches, impromptu speeches, and evaluations. But today is one of our speak-a-thon meetings because we have 56 members to our club, and we want to provide ample opportunity for everyone to be able to speak and get their business taken care of. So we're going to be having speak-a-thon today. We're going to have 5 speeches, 5 evaluations, and that's what we're doing today. We're also recognizing achievement of new members. I want you all to clap for Trish Smith, who just finished her pathway, and want to congratulate her on that. Wanted to share with you, if you go to the dashboard, you'll see that we sit right now at 3 goals accomplished, and the area that we need to focus on is this area over here where you have level 1, 2, and 3 speeches, and that would help out the club in terms of achieving its goals. I just want to share that all with you. And that will be all at this moment in time, Lou. Give it back to you because we have a packed schedule.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. And with that, we will turn control right over to our Toastmaster of the day, who will conduct today's special speak-a-thon, Toastmaster Angela Heath.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our speech-a-thon for today. And our theme for today is birthday celebrations from around the world. We are an international club, and I think the more we get to know each other and understand cultural differences, I think the better and the closer our relationship will be. So this is going to be a fun day for us as Toastmasters. The word of the day is merriment. It goes right along with celebrating birthdays around the world. Merriment means that it's a mood characterized by high spirits and amusement, often accompanied with laughter. So, guess what, guys? I want to start us off with some fun. I would love to share with you a couple of birthday activities that happen around the world. Number 1, do you know that in China, children get the opportunity to slurp down long noodles? The long noodles mean for the children that they are actually going to live a long life. In Argentina, it's similar to what we do in the US. It means that you know how we give people punches for their birthday or we slap them on the backside? Well, in Argentina, they'll pull your ear for the number of years that you have lived.
Oh, lived or left, okay.
In Denmark, they celebrate their cakes with their nation's flag. That's the way you know they're celebrating a birthday. I love this tradition. In England, they actually put coins in the cake. And the birthday person, if they get one of those coins, they're thought to mean that the rest of their life, they're going to be rich. I love that. And I like this one too. In India, the birthday person dresses in a nice outfit. One of their favorite friends goes along with them, and the friend is responsible for giving chocolate to everyone. So I thought that was a cool celebration because you don't even have to buy the chocolate if you're the birthday person. Those are just a few of the birthday celebrations from around the globe. And there are many, many more. So since this is a special thing for us, it's not a regular meeting, it's a speak-a-thon, we only have three helpers for this meeting. And our first one is our timer. Miss Carolina, can you tell us what your role is as timer?
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. As a timer, my role is to keep track of time for the speeches and evaluations. When I show the green card, it means that the speaker has 2 minutes left for speeches and 1 minute left for evaluations. When I show the yellow card, you should be aware that your time will be up soon. Only 1 minute left for speeches and 30 seconds for evaluations. And when I show the red card, it means that your time is up. And be careful because after that signal, you have 30 seconds to finish your speech in order to be qualified. At the end of the meeting, I will present my report for everyone.
Thank you, Carolina. Our second helper for today will be our vote counter. Mafuzul, can you please explain your role?
Madam Toastmaster of the day, in the spirit of merriment, I am your vote counter today, and I am going to take advantage of the online tool today. So I will be counting vote online, and if somebody needs to vote offline, you can ping me, direct to me, but I will share the link for online voting. As the role of the vote counter, I will be having a report for the best speaker, evaluator, as well as the other supporting role. And I will have a report for you at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster of the day, back to you.
Thank you so much. And our final helper for today, along with his sub-helpers, is Mr. Marty. Can you tell us what the general evaluator will do today? Marty, you're muted. Marty, can you unmute yourself? Okay. While you work on that, Marty, we'll go ahead with the program and we'll get back to you. We'll give you a chance to get that computer unmuted. So it's time for us to get right to our speeches for today. And our first speech is Antoinette Trem. Antoinette says, "My workplace 360 feedback process" is the title of her speech. It's from the Visionary Communication Pathway Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, so it's an icebreaker. She says that Toastmasters is the place for growth, not only for one's professional life, but also for one's personal life. Being a professional myself, Toastmasters helped me realize not only my own shortcomings, but also my strengths in all facets of life. Can we welcome to the stage, the virtual stage, Antoinette Trem.
Good evening to Toastmaster of the day and my fellow Toastmasters. The 360 feedback was introduced to my organization where I work about a few years ago. It's basically letting us know about the behaviors that we display while over the fiscal to our various colleagues. And it is rated according to the 5 core values of my organization, which are professionalism, customer focus, integrity, results orientation, and respect for the individual. And under each of those headings, there are roughly about 5 to 8 questions that each one of us would be rated upon. And the questions for professionalism, for example, one question will be providing ongoing feedback. For integrity, you may have takes full responsibility for actions. And each section, again, each subject header, it ranges from 1 to 3, 1 being the lowest mark and 3 being the highest grade. Over the years, I would get normally about 2.5 to about 2.7. And I always rate highly in the professionalism area as well as the integrity area. And also, we are also given the opportunity not only to rate, but to write some comments. For my last fiscal, I got a comment stating, Antoinette is a pleasant person to work with. Away now with the technical aspect, I would like to deal with the emotional aspect of the 360 feedback on me. In retrospect, I realized that I have 3 emotions that I would display. For example, anxiety. At the end of the fiscal, I'm always anxious to see how my co-workers will rate me, because I have heard my colleagues complain that some people use it as a bashing tool, but I must say, I have not experienced any of that in terms of any derogatory remarks in my 360. I also experienced one of fear, an emotion of fear, because if it is that my colleagues experience that, what will they do for me? Or maybe it's possible they can do that to me as well. So I experienced one of fear. I also experienced another emotion that is called appreciation. I must say that I appreciate all the kind comments that my colleague will make of me, especially one that I just said, Antoinette is a pleasant individual to work with. And I also like the grades that I get, because over the years, I've gotten good to fine grades, and I'm very happy about that. In summary, the 360 feedback is one of mixed emotions for me. Even though the sensations, they are diminishing each year, I still feel that it's a very good tool for workers in my workplace, as it will tell us what are some of the emotions, not only emotions, but some of the behaviors that we display that we are not even aware of. I know that they will continue doing 360 feedback year after year. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. That was very interesting. I know you guys really want to know more about what happens in other countries with birthday celebrations. So let me share something else. This is a little bit familiar to some of us. In Mexico, children get a chance to whack at a piñata. That is a paper mache that is filled with candy, and the birthday person whacks it and candy sprinkles all out and everybody gets a chance to enjoy. Everywhere around the world, we have exciting and interesting birthday celebrations. A lot of merriment goes on. Our next speaker is Trisha Smith. Her speech title is Reflecting on Lessons Learned. It's part of Presentation Mastery Level 5, demonstrating her expertise as lessons learned. She says that project management requires skills management and cooperation of a team of professionals working as one. Communication, time management, and problem-solving skills need to be effectively and efficiently used to maximize goals and objectives to meet expectations and deadlines. Welcome, Trisha Smith, her speech reflecting on lessons learned. Trisha, over to you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, friends and guests. I am Trisha Smith. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and happy birthday, Angela. Just had to say that in merriment. I'm going to reflect on my experience and what I learned with presentation mastery in terms of project management. Like the introduction said, there are 3 basic elements that are really important for successful project completion and meeting deadlines. That involves communication, time management, and problem solving. Does that sound familiar? Efficient communication is really important for project success. Do you agree? Participants need to communicate, have good communication to know the goals, objectives, plans, strategies, and especially what is expected of them to participate. They need to be able to focus on their task and do their task well with quality. With time management, it's important that all the participants collaborate their efforts together for a common goal. They do this professionally, respectfully, and they specialize in specific tasks that they're qualified to do to meet specific deadlines. Time management has a direct result on the quality of performances, the results and outlook, and of course, the cost of the budget. With time management, it allows managers to actually determine how long tasks take to prioritize and determine the order of what task needs to be done and how long the task and the actual project takes to complete with an estimate so that they can budget the project. That leads us to problem solving. Problem solving involves some basic steps. If you remember scientific methods in high school or a science course, with problem solving, you're going to identify the problem. You're going to identify the different ways to solve the problem. You're going to make a decision on which action you're going to take to solve the problem. You're going to implement that action, and then you're going to evaluate the results. So basically, problem solving is used to prevent problems or solve problems, but it's very important because problem solving helps to keep the project on task. That leads to the overall topic of project management. It can't be understated how important project management is. There's basically 5 phases to project management: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and of course, closing. So that can be broken down into further steps, which would entail defining and developing goals and objectives, determining what participants can do the job and the skills that are needed, delegating the tasks to the people that can perform them, determining how long the tasks are going to take, and then going through the timeline, monitoring the performance, and then evaluating the results. So how do I use project management in my personal and professional life? I'm a full-time online teacher for one school and an adjunct on-site teacher for another school. Well, that's not all. I also am involved with Toastmasters, and I volunteer in my community for with a couple of organizations, and I'm a member of some professional organizations. So that takes time management, communication, problem solving, and especially project management. So if I break that down to being an instructor, I have to have good communication with students, with faculty, with leadership, and using different methods of communication to meet the students' needs. I also help with curriculum. So curriculum can be used to enhance courses, develop courses, or develop new programs. Well, that's on a bigger scale because then you get all the different departments working together. That would be curriculum, subject matter experts with faculty. You do need students involved, but not until after it's actually created. And then they use a pilot program through the length of the course to determine if it's going to work and any improvements that are needed. Then on the student side, the student needs a lot of support with their learning. So not only do they get the teaching aspects with the instructor, they get the learner services, the academic services, the resources with an advisor. And then from a faculty perspective, we've got the professional development. So all of that takes time management, professional time management, just all of those project management skills in place to do those things along with the sidelines. I've learned to refine these processes. I've enjoyed the levels working through the path, and I'm going to continue to refine those as I go through and develop my personal and professional goals, and you can do it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. That was really good. I learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's talk a little bit about more things you can do to celebrate your birthday. Did you know in Australia, they have something called fairy bread? I had to find out more about this. It is actually white bread, butter on top, and what we call here in the United States, sprinkles. That sounds pretty interesting, but they say it tastes delicious. And in India, they also celebrate with food, like most of the cultures, but they make sure the first thing they do for a birthday celebration is go to the shrine to get their birthday blessing. Our next speaker is Jim Barber, and he is going to be talking about one drop in my bucket. When I asked what's the purpose of it, he said not to screw it up. So I can't wait to hear about one drop in the bucket from Jim Barber. The digital floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guest this evening. Recently, some friends and I were talking about bucket lists. If you're not familiar with the term, a bucket list is something that it's a list of the things that you want to do before you die. Now, I don't plan on kicking the bucket anytime soon, but I still got to thinking about that maybe, given this time of life, if there are things on my bucket list that I want to do, maybe I should get started on them pretty soon. So I started thinking about it. And most of the items I could throw away, I didn't care about, but one of them stuck in my mind, kept coming back to that. You see, I've written, as some of you know, I've written several books in my life, but they're all nonfiction. They were well received, so I know that I can write training manuals, how-to books, that sort of thing. But I've always wondered, could I write fiction? Could I tell a story that would keep people interested for any amount of time? And so, my fellow Toastmasters, in going after my bucket list, I've decided to write a novel. This novel, The Vortex, is a science fiction story, but not a science fiction story with monsters and ray guns, not that sort of thing. But this is actually a little bit stranger than that. This story involves, this is strange, this is weird, relationships and teamwork. Let me tell you about the story, though. The Vortex is the name of the book, but it's also the name of a spaceship. It's a brand new ship of the fleet, and it carries passengers, or it's designed to carry passengers across the Milky Way. But this, its maiden flight, is odd for a number of reasons. For one thing, although the ship is designed to carry hundreds of passengers, there's only one. And it's not a VIP, it's not a famous person or a rich person like William Shatner in our day, but rather it's a simple farm boy. That's it. However, it's not an everyday farm boy. This farm boy has been accepted into the most prestigious university that the galaxy has. And he never applied, but he was given a full scholarship and full transportation to the university. That's it. The crew is also a little bit on the odd side. Everybody in the crew seems to be either very overqualified or, to put it gently, very underqualified. For example, there's a security officer, Ski. Ski is legendary. He is reputed to repel boarders, to quell riots with a stern glance. And yet here he is on this ship overseeing one passenger and 9 crew members. Definitely overqualified. On the other hand, there's also one crew member that's at least 100 years old. Don't know exactly how old. That's marked confidential. Everything on her personnel files are marked confidential. Do not inquire. All she does is sit in the corner all day long. Nobody knows what she does. Nobody knows how she's doing it. And then there's the captain. The captain is qualified. The captain knows what she's doing. It's her first flight, though, as captain. And she was so looking forward to her first flight. It was going to be filled with merriment. But she's bored because there's nothing to do. She really wants something exciting to happen, or if she can't have exciting, she's hoping for interesting. And then everything goes dark. This is a problem. There's a ship-wide power failure, and it's a brand new ship. So this is embarrassing. This is inconvenient. Might count as interesting, but it gets worse. The chief engineer comes in and reports that the propulsion drive has gone offline. Brand new ship, but they're stuck. They can't go anywhere. They're stuck right there. The worst part, though, is when the security officer comes in and says that the ship has been boarded. The boarding party, if you want to call it that, is one female, approximately 6 months old. The ship has been boarded, or at least somebody has beamed a baby girl onto the ship, and people don't know why. They don't know where she came from. They don't know anything about her. It goes downhill from there. There are secrets and conspiracies, accidents and sabotage, heartbreak and betrayal. Before we get to the end, there is even a princess and a dragon. But at the end, we find that the fate of humanity, in fact, the fate of all humanity, depends on answering one question: who is the baby? And that's the vortex. There is a problem, though, another question that needs to be answered. Is Jim actually going to write this book? We're going to find that out, hopefully next year. So next year, is Jim going to write the book? And who is the baby? I close with one thought. I hope the grammarian will forgive me, but this is a trite expression, but in this particular case, it's appropriate and it's literally true. And I've always wanted to say this. My fellow Toastmasters, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Madam Toastmaster.
Please write the story, Jim. I think we all agree. That is a story that must be written. Who is that baby? Thank you so much. Okay, more birthday traditions, everybody. I always have more. Let's talk about what happens in Canada. In Canada, little kids actually get their nose greased, and it's supposed to ward off bad luck. And their nose is greased with butter. Interesting. And what about Jamaica? In Jamaica, birthday celebrations mean that the birthday person gets flour dumped on top of their heads. Interesting. Our final speaker for tonight is Graham Carne. His speech is called Understanding Emotional Intelligence. It's level 3, Increasing Knowledge, Understanding Emotional Intelligence. Graham is completing the Emotional Strategies Pathway to help make him a better leader. But sometimes he finds it a little bit, shall we say, overwhelming. Today, he's looking at some of the strategies that help, at least most of the time. Graham, Emotional Intelligence, the floor is yours.
I'm a pretty much even-tempered soul. I mean, I rarely lose my temper. In fact, my wife and children were genuinely startled when I yelled at another driver a few years ago. But I was on day 5 of giving up smoking, so I'm going to use that as my excuse. And I had a former colleague who once joked that I would shake hands with the devil himself, not because I'm evil, but, well, because I am so affable. That doesn't mean that I'm not affected by emotion. I mean, I can be a real sentimental softie. In fact, I wept like a child while standing at a memorial for soldiers who died at Kanchanaburi in Thailand on the infamous Burma Railway. I cried great ugly sobs above the remains of the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor. I mean, hell, I always cry in the movie Up. When I see injustice, particularly when it's provoked by prejudice or bigotry, I get quite angry. And of course, as anybody who's heard my dad jokes knows, I love to tell jokes to share merriment. So as I say, I am affected by emotions, but, well, generally, I try not to let them force my hand when I'm working as a leader. Generally, I succeed. Generally, but not always. Let me give you a recent example. This year, for my sins, I have been appointed as a division director in Toastmasters here in my home district in Australia. My division has 26 clubs in 5 areas, and so, of course, that means it has 5 area directors. Well, it should have 5 area directors. Unfortunately, one area director resigned about a month into the role due to family commitments, and I understand that. And then about 2 weeks ago, another resigned, citing business commitments and the lack of support from some of his area council. In particular, one member of that council who, and I have to stress this, they always mean well, but they'd been in his ear about something, and the combination of their persistence and his business crisis led him to throw his hands up in the air and say, enough. Well, I hosed down some of his concerns. I offered him support, and I said that I, as division director, would back him as area director, and I would back his decisions. But that same evening, I happened to attend a club meeting where that council member I spoke about again raised their concerns and tried to get their club to back their point of view. Well, this is an example of where I allowed my emotions to get the better of me. I nearly always adopt the principle that I should praise in public and counsel in private. But in this case, I allowed my frustration to bubble over. And I said in an open meeting that the well-meaning interference of that member had nearly cost Toastmasters a valuable leader. It was the wrong thing to say at the wrong time and in the wrong place, but it happened. So why did it happen? Well, here's where we get to the nub of this particular Pathways project, understanding emotional intelligence. The purpose of this project is for me to cultivate an understanding of how my emotions impact relationships, and it's designed to help me identify how others' emotions impact my emotional state. I'd like to think that I'm empathetic, and in the words of this project, empathy is, well, at the core of empathy is knowing what it would be like to feel the same way or to experience the same emotions as someone else. As I say, I'd like to think that I am empathetic. But looking back, I allowed my empathy for the difficulties facing my area director to override the empathy that I should have shared with the area council member, who, again, and I have to stress this, they always mean well. I was tired and I was stressed and I was unhappy, and I allowed that to influence my emotions and hence influence my actions. So how do you deal with that sort of situation in the future? In the book Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, Dr. Goleman says we essentially have two minds. There's a thinking one and a feeling one. Our feeling mind is associative, categorical, absolutist, and individual, and it reacts to information before our thinking mind even gets all the information and has an opportunity to weigh the best action. Our feeling mind is more fully formed at birth, while our neocortex can learn and change and adjust through our lives. What that means is that our emotional reactions to things are formed before we have high-level thoughts to make sense of them. And here's an interesting point that he makes. We can't change our emotional reaction to things, but we can learn how to respond to our emotions differently. Of course, to learn how to respond, we first need to learn how to identify our emotional state. And that's why we're asked in this project to fill out a journal for at least 2 weeks, noting our emotional state and how that impacts on our decision-making and our leadership. Give it a try for yourself. This particular project is only offered in the motivational strategies path, but there's no reason why you can't put some of the hints and tips suggested into play for you. I'll put the project PDF into the chat so that you can check it out for yourself. And I have a strategy that isn't directly referenced in this project, but which I think works relatively well. It's based on the oft-given advice. Before you send an email, just imagine that might be used in a court of law. That'll certainly make you more circumspect in your emails, right? Well, now, before you imagine that your reaction to circumstances is going to be on display to your family, your friends, to those you most want to have a favorable view of you before you do anything. Would arcing up, would losing your cool, would shutting down others impress those closest to you? No, it probably wouldn't. Instead, as the Understanding Emotional Intelligence Project puts it, relax, detach, center, and focus. That is, breathe and relax the tension in your body. Separate your feelings from the situation. Drop awareness to the center of your body and feel yourself breathing. And here's a really cool one. Choose a keyword or concept that represents how you want to feel. Not how you do, but how you want to, and then repeat that like a mantra if necessary. Above all else, if you do respond emotionally, and we all do, don't dwell on it unnecessarily. Once the event or situation has ended, and you have time to reflect, identify what you did well, but also what you could improve. Then leave the experience in the past. That, Toastmasters and friends, is true emotional intelligence. I'm Toastmaster.
Thank you, Graham. That was good. I'm going to work on my emotional intelligence. Great advice. Before we get to the evaluations, I want to round out my sharing with you about the birthdays from around the world. And for those of you who don't know, in the US, we have birthday cakes, candles, we blow them out. You know, sometimes we may have birthday hats. And we really love to celebrate birthdays in the US, just like I found all around the world they do. But one thing I found out in doing my research, I found out that people in the US cannot go to Brazil and celebrate their birthday. Let me tell you why. Because in Brazil, if you're a child, you get the first piece of cake. We do that in the US, but there's a difference. In Brazil, that first piece of cake, you have to give it away to someone who means so much to you. I hate to admit it, many kids in the US, I'm not sure they would want to give away their first piece of birthday cake. And I know that Americans would have a terrible time if they went to Vietnam and tried to celebrate their birthday. It just wouldn't work. Let me tell you why. In Vietnam, nobody celebrates the individual birthday. They all have a collective birthday on the Vietnamese New Year. Honestly, Americans just wouldn't go for that. So I hope these traditions from around the world have been enlightening. It brings a new sort of merriment to the whole concept of birthday celebrations. And I'll be trying some of these activities myself. So fellow Toastmasters, this is an unusual meeting for us. It's a speak-a-thon. So our next portion of our presentation comes from our evaluators. We never want to skip evaluation because it helps us all do better as Toastmasters. So please join me in welcoming General Evaluator, Marty, to the floor. Marty, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. The floor is mine. I almost feel like falling through it because I'm going to give you a perfect example of how to be a lousy general evaluator tonight. To put it bluntly, I'm not very well prepared. I'm missing some names and I'm missing some people, not to mention that I'm missing my brain. However, our first speaker, if I've written things down correctly, was Antoinette. Frankly, I haven't the least idea who was planning to evaluate her. Would somebody care to admit it? Calvin?
No. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Calvin, please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Hello, everybody. Antoinette, I am so glad that I'm here tonight to hear that. It was good. Your warmth and smile are contagious, and they help you project an authentic and confident image. Your eye contact was appropriate, and your pace allowed me to follow you throughout your entire presentation. You may want to work on getting into the mindset of, I've got something to say. I'm the best person to say it, and I'm going to tell you what I want you to know, everybody. Get into that mindset. When you make a point, tell us why it's important. For example, you mentioned that the 360 feedback focused on the 5 core values of your company. Why is that important? You mentioned the emotional impact that the feedback that you get has on you. Why is that important? Elaborate. You mentioned that you have mixed feelings about 360 feedback. Why? To challenge yourself, tell us what 360 feedback is, make a transition to your emotions and the impact it has on you. Follow that up with your summary and let us know why all of it ties together in a cohesive presentation. Be energetic with your pace at that point because you want to emphasize what you have to say. Overall, outstanding job, Antoinette. I'm looking forward to hearing more of your speeches. Mr. General Evaluator.
Well, thank you very much for jumping in and taking care of one of my first omissions of the evening. I'm very grateful. And I've got to tell you, I'm going to have some fun poking fun at myself tonight because that's how things are tonight. Our second speaker, if I wrote it down correctly, was Trisha Smith. Naturally, I didn't manage to write down what her topic was, the title for speech or anything else, but I do see here that I said BDC had agreed to Evaluator. Do I have that right, BDC?
That is correct, Marty.
Very good. Take it away, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Marty. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, but specifically Trisha. Trisha did a lot of great things in her speech today, and I want to focus on a couple of things. Let's start off with the beginning. She had a speech that was very difficult in concept. How do you identify the differences of time management versus project management, and then tie it into the lessons she learned by going through this particular path? And I felt she did an excellent job at that, particularly at the end. She talked about time management, project management, what defined each one, and then tied it through at the end and gave us a takeaway, which was so important. Now, feedback is a gift, and Trisha asked me for some feedback about things that I felt she could improve. And so the first thing I want to talk about is her use of a background. This is a very visual medium right here. And if you notice, particularly with my background, it's a little busy at times. I get people don't like that. But one of the things that I particularly like is you have to have things in the background that have a purpose. So backgrounds have to have purpose. Every single thing behind me is in that place for a specific reason. Now, Trisha's background said project management and had 5 little arrows going around it, but we couldn't really read what those arrows were because either she was blocking them or they went out of frame. If she wanted that background to have a purpose for us to read it, maybe she wants to sit off to the side and put it right here so that we can see that graphic. Otherwise, it just becomes something that says, I don't like the wall behind me and I want to have something different there. The other thing that I thought was very interesting, and I think is an opportunity for Trisha to step outside her comfort zone, is she changed her webcam angle on us. This is something that she told me beforehand. And I think that it's a good idea to constantly be thinking about, where are you looking while you're talking? What is it that you're going to focus on? Because my years of broadcasting television has taught me one thing. When you are talking to an audience, you are talking to a camera. You're not talking to anything else. When you're speaking in front of a room of people, you want to look around and engage with all the people. It's one of the reasons why my camera is not next to my monitors. When I'm looking at my monitors, I'm over here. So if you really want to take that next step and step outside your comfort zone, move your camera away from your monitors. That way, when you're talking to the audience through the camera, you're looking directly at them. You have eye contact them. You don't have anything distracting them, like that person chewing gum or that person doing this, or the fact the timer just went to yellow and is about to turn red on me in any second now. You're focused on the camera. And this way, that's how you take that step outside your comfort zone, which is what Toastmasters is about. It's not about becoming a better public speaker. It's about learning to step outside your comfort zone, which we do through public speaking opportunities. Trisha, I loved hearing this. I look forward to hearing your next presentation.
Well, all I can say is that was a great evaluation. I actually learned a good deal from it about how I should not do things when I'm speaking, and that's important. Number 3, I've managed not to write down who our third speaker was. So
Jim
I
Barber.
also haven't managed to write down who was evaluating our third speaker, but I see Andre.
Jim Barber. Jim Barber is the next speaker.
Oh, okay. What I got here,
And he's being evaluated by Andre Slamenko.
many thanks. Okay. So what did my screen say? Evaluator 4 is Andrew Byrne.
Yeah, no, it's
Because that's because I'm not looking at the third speaker.
The agenda was a little twisted, Marty. So that's
Well, as you can tell, my head is kind of twisted tonight also. To take a good look and take it away, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow members, most welcome guest. Most importantly, Jim, what a powerful speech. One drop in your bucket list. And what a drop that was. Jim, clearly you are an experienced speaker. And remember, when I had a little chat before the evaluation began, you just told me, Andre, I want to make sure that I balance things correctly. One thing that experienced speakers do, they're great storytellers. Jim, you are on top of the list. A great story on one hand. At the same time, you're a visual master. You like playing with your visual effects, like Overcome and new technologies. And the puzzle is for the great speaker and a great visual storyteller to balance those two things together. I think you've done a splendid job. It wasn't overpowering, and we could hear your story. We could see you. We could follow your track. Great visual effects. The story itself was captivating. Who would have thought that you already written a number of books that were non-fiction? And then you are mesmerizing us with your new book. Would it come out or not? You're a great, experienced speaker, and I really enjoy following you. There are a few recommendations I would like to make. The one, perhaps you could add a dialogue to the characters you describe. For example, the captain talking to the baby and baby responding, a bit of a play role. Thing number 2, I would challenge you even further. You did not expect that. However, the challenge would be to involve audience in your speech. Ask them a question. For example, right in the end, when you made us wondering whether it was your novel or not. Let us guess. So what do you think? Ask us a question. Even though your ending was really, really powerful and left us wondering, I would challenge you again. I would challenge you to bring that ending to the beginning of your story. And then you are sitting with your friends and wondering whether that would be a drop in your bucket list or that would be the great addition to your life. Overall, really powerful, well-balanced from the visual and storytelling points of view presentation. Taking into account a few challenges, you're not shy of taking challenges, I'm sure, would make your story much more appealing, and you didn't screw up. Congratulations. Back to you, Madam General, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, my good friend. And we will now go to our next evaluation. It says here that Jim Barber was our fourth speaker. Did I get that right, Jim? Yes, no, maybe?
Nope.
Graham.
I was the
Graham
third.
Cairns.
And
Graham is our next
Graham.
speaker, and I'm the evaluator.
and yes, I've got it here that Andrew is evaluating you. Have I got that much right, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. How am I doing about showing you how not to be the general evaluator? Am I doing a good job of making every mistake in the book? Take it away, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Mr. Journal Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests. Can you hear me, Marty? You sound like you're not hearing me.
No, I hear you perfectly. Thanks.
Okay.
Can
As
you
I
hear
was
me?
saying, yes. As I was saying, thank you very much for bringing me in at this time. I'm evaluating Toastmaster Graham Carnes, and he is doing motivational strategies, level 3, increasing knowledge, understanding emotional intelligence. Graham gave us a masterclass. He gave us a masterclass for a number of reasons. First off, he had great organization. The speech was well structured. And when he was introducing new topics, it was a situation where we understood what he was saying because he explained it. He even explained the purpose of his speech. I think that he also delivered appropriate gestures. His voice was clear, pacing was excellent, and he was great in terms of language. He used merriment. He used the word affable. He used empathy. He talked about weeping like a child. He talked about persistence. Graham used the English language to his best benefit in explaining exactly what he was doing. And he also was successful in talking about emotional intelligence, identifying it through the book Daniel Goleman wrote, but also identified exactly what it meant through stories. And he told a number of stories talking about his emotions and how it impacted him, how he had interplay between him and between other individuals. And particularly, he talked about the challenges and conflict with one of the members in his own division. And this was of great importance to him to provide not only great message in the story, but also a call to action. What was the call to action? The call to action was to realize that you have an emotional intelligence versus the IQ, intellectual intelligence, and that the emotions can impact how you react, and that you need to be aware of that and allow you to take a pause, relax, and to act out in an appropriate way. He left us with the words of praise in public and counsel in private. I think that's a great message. Thanks very much, Graham. Thank you.
Marty, you need to unmute yourself. Marty, you need to unmute yourself.
You are so right.
Thank
you
you.
very much for catching that. Just adding to my general performance, illustrating at great length how not to be the general evaluator. But it says here that our fifth and last speaker of the evening was Graham. Graham, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
That's all right. We've done that one.
We just done that one. We had one person drop out, Marty. You may
Oh,
not have
okay,
seen
so
it.
that's why I don't know what's going on.
That's the
Right,
twisty
right.
part.
It's okay. It's okay. Give us your evaluation of tonight.
Okay, I found that tonight's meeting was excellent in many respects. I'll start with the background that our Toastmaster of the day has. I love it. I wish I could figure out how to do something like that. But the speeches were excellent. The evaluations were to the point. I not only learned a lot about the subjects that our speakers covered, but also about how to evaluate various types of speeches. I'm so glad. I've been a Toastmaster for a long time, and there's a lot that I will learn someday. But I'm starting to learn some of it from this club, and this club is very possibly the most exciting one I've ever belonged to. In any event, the meeting did run quite smoothly. It started more or less on time. It's going to end more or less on time if I learn to shut up and let people finish. And I am very proud to say that I'm very proud to be a member of this excellent club. I will now return control of the meeting back to our Toastmaster of the day. Take it away, Angela.
Marty, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We forgot one of the other important parts of our meeting today, and that is to vote. Let's start with voting for the best speaker. We have Antoinette, Trisha, and Jim. Graham did not qualify on time. If you have not, please send your votes over for the best speaker between Antoinette, Trisha, and Jim. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And while you are completing the vote, I thank you all for your wonderful birthday wishes. And I hope now that we know a little bit about birthdays around the world, we can celebrate with our fellow Toastmasters in a way that they are accustomed to virtually. We also want to make sure we have the vote for the best evaluation. Are everyone qualified for the best evaluation? So if you could send your vote over to the vote counter for best evaluation, that would be fantastic. I want to ask the vote counter, are you ready to reveal? You have the votes?
I'm almost, Madam Toastmaster of the day. We have been collecting votes, and apologies for the link. You wanted to use the online, and here we come, the technical difficulties, but I have been collecting the votes. There has been lots coming in. I will give it another probably 10 more seconds, and I will reveal the best speaker with the drum roll.
Sounds like a wonderful plan. And this has been a really great night for me. I normally would not be here for a holiday weekend. I'm reforming as a workaholic, and I promised my family that I would not work on holidays. And so normally I wouldn't be here, but I didn't realize that this was a US holiday. I'm like worldwide now. I can't keep up with the US. Vote counter, are you ready for the big?
I am ready. Let's give it a drum roll. All right. And unanimously, the best speaker goes to one and only the pre-order list. Let's welcome Mr. Jim Barber. And the second one is even complicated. We have a virtual tie, and it's a three-way race. Now, as a vote counter, I will cast my vote. And with that note, let's have a drum roll one more time. And the best evaluator goes to the one and only Andres Smolenko from all the way from Manchester. It was a virtual tie between BDC and Andre. I'm sorry, BDC. It was a virtual tie. No. There you go. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Glad to be here.
Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations to all of the winners. I hope you guys enjoyed the merriment for today. And with that, I will turn it over to, who am I turning it over to? Our president. Lou Brown.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. And with such merriment, I like to congratulate you for running an awesome meeting. Very much on time. And I like how you threw in a lot of your own comments related to the theme of the day and our speakers. Very well done. I really like when folks kind of add a little bit of their own personality as Toastmasters. So again, congratulations on that. First of all, Marty, you did an excellent job as general evaluator. And I guarantee, my friend, that the second time you do it will be an improvement over the first. The third time will be an improvement over the second time, et cetera, et cetera. You will be doing this like brushing your teeth someday. So no worries, my friend. You have us all here to support you. And again, you did a great job.
Many thanks. Your kindness. I've enjoyed
You're very
it.
welcome, my friend. Awesome. Congratulations to all the speeches were just incredible. Congratulations to the winners, and the evaluations were incredible as well. I mean, we're just an impeccable club. Voting is always very difficult here. I would like to first ask some of our guests for a little bit of feedback before we get to our VPE, who I know is very much want to get things rolling with our rules for next week. Oh, you know what? I do want to add one thing in terms of evaluation of the meeting real quickly. Going forward, while this might be something for the Toastmaster of the Day, I'd like to ask our VPE as sort of backup is to have speakers and evaluators properly numbered so that our GE will be able to immediately kind of look for who is on deck next. It could involve you renaming folks, which I think you can do as co-host, in case I know folks are ripping their numbers right off the agenda. And I know we had things a little out of order with the 6 speaking slots. So perhaps we can, have a little note go out to the Toastmaster of the Day to be on top of that. And if not, maybe you, Andy, as backup can help with that as well. And I'll also look out for it myself when the meeting starts. Okay, I saw a note from Lillian. I think she was unable to stay. It looks like she has left us. So Petra, would you like to share a little bit of what you have gained from our meeting? This is your first time visiting us. What have you gained from us?
Thank you very much. Yes, I have. And it's not only skill and knowledge that I have packed it into my little head, but also the merriment of your meeting. It's so wonderful to learn in such a fun atmosphere, like Dr. Ralph Smedley said. I'm out of sleep. I forgot most of the time. And I'm so impressed. But one thing I wonder, I thought there would be a table topic session. Isn't there any?
There normally are when we have a regular meeting. Since tonight was a speakathon, we normally even have 6 speakers for the speakathon. Tonight we had 4, which was still a full plate, as you can see, because our meeting is officially ending in a minute. But with that said, we have to forego table topics whenever we have more than 3 speakers.
However, may I express my 2 cents?
Of course.
Thank you. It's about the voting. I am 73 and I'm a no-tech person. So and I'm also slow because of age and everything. So in order for me to go and open the link and do 2 or 3 more steps in order to choose the winner. And then I have seen at a lot of meetings where they just put like a ribbon over the screen with all the number 1, 2, 3 already having the names on that ribbon. So like it's my first time today. It would be very difficult for me to remember the names of the speakers and evaluators. So I think if you would be so kind to change it into one drop down and let the audience members select, that could offer us more merriment. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. And that is a great proposal in terms of the voting. And I believe you're probably referring to the poll where folks can we have had done the polls in the past where a box pops up on the screen and you can select via radio button, I believe, which best speaker, best evaluator, et cetera. I know we have tried the polling in the past. There was some particular reason why we then went to the voting tool. It has something to do with technology, as you shared. It can be a little challenging. So I think there was a little bit of a technology issue with the polls. But what's great is we always have multiple options which we can try and experiment with and see what works best. So we have the polling option, send a private text to the vote counter, and this link. So, we'll certainly see what works best going forward, maybe a combination of things, or I should say select something based on where we're at with each meeting. So thanks again for your feedback. Appreciate that.
Mr. President, it is
Yes.
now the official time to close the meeting.
Yes, the meeting is officially closed.